Way, say one of them fucking Air Force coats on me, and me vest and everything.
I just missed a little bit there about, the woman got the ambulance and all the rest of it.
Oh yeah, Mary Landy, Rush, that girl, she's there for anyone to see her. She was married to an American fella, and things didn't go right, and of course they got her come home. But she worked with us, she was our secretary.
Had you got a jacket or something on you to protect us?
I had a vest, a jersey, and a leather coat. An Air Force coat that I bought off in Frisco. No, I bought it in Liverpool in the
Army
Navy stores.
Yeah.
A big woolen, what do you call it, coat, leather. And it burnt right through the leather coat, the after.
God, yeah.
It went in bits. And my vest and all was burnt. And it got down into the boot. The left foot, it got into the left foot, really. It did get into the other one too. And I said to your man in the ambulance when they lifted me in there, I said, I can't stand the pain in my left foot. Will you take out my boot? And he cut out the boot to pull it out me here. So the sole come out in his hand. And he cut the top of the boot to pull it off. And he pulled the boot out. It burnt in bits. And when he since I took off the stocking, the feet's going mad. When he pulled off the stocking, he turned away. He left it hanging on me big toe or the. Jesus, there was no flesh nor nothing on the world, only the bare bone. Burnt to the bare bone.
Yeah.
And there was nothing left of us.
Good God.
Sure, I was above in Stevens' house and me leg in a cage, me foot in a cage like that and had a fucking bit of skin.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do nothing for 21 days to get the acid out of the blood. Couldn't have a way to get the acid out of the blood, you see. Couldn't do nothing with me. Sure, you seen me aiming, didn't you? Yeah. And my face was swelled up like that and my neck was like a fucking rugby ball. I was burnt in bits, not a hair in my head in the world, only scabs.
Weren't you lucky all the same? You were a very lucky man, weren't you?
Jesus,
really?
I was lucky that I knew what to do. If I had to stand my ground, I'd never. But there was only the one who'd saved me life. I knew the minute that fucking banged and I lifted off the ground, I landed on my feet, gone like a shot like that. The fumes coming off the.
Oh yeah.
The fumes coming off of the concrete. You see a yellow smoke.
Yeah, she bubbles.
She'd kill you in a few minutes.
Yeah, sulfuric acid.
The doctor said to me.
Yeah.
How the name of God, he says, did you, when the fumes struck you, he says that it didn't kill you. So, doctor, I knew what to do. So I kept my nose like that and my mouth shut till I got out. Yeah. And so I run for the nearest road. But how did I get it? I cannot still
remember.
I knew where to go, but I still got there. And there was all sorts of pallets and things there.
On that side. Really,
on that side.
That's
but how did I get clear of them all?
Yeah.
And I knew nothing till I dived into the river. And there's a living man, poor old Tom Kerrigan.
Yes, he used to wash.
Tom used to wash cars there.
That's right. At the bridge there.
Tom sent, what do you call him up? Leo. Leo was only young lad.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, he says, there's Willie McGee committing suicide. Go up, he said, and pull him out of the water. John, did tell you that. I was only talking to Leo last night in the chapel. You remember, Willie, when you met with that? And my father set me up. He says, there's Willie McGee committing suicide. Go up, out of the water. Jeez, that's what saved my life that time. Only I knew what to do.
There's something I meant to ask you, and either of you this would apply to. During the war years and at sea, did you come across any enemy action, or did you see any?
I left. I tell you. Now the last two voyages I done at sea during the war, I was on the Pacific, one of the Pacific boats, and. Instead of running down to South America, when we come home, our last voyage, I call it, from South America, running down to Guayaquil, Ecuador, the war was very, very close coming up. There were great talk about the war.
Yes, yeah.
And we were sent out to New York with General Cargo. And when we got to New York with General Cargo, we had to go round to Oakland, Alameda. No, we had to go round to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Well, San Francisco, when we went to it, Wilmington, Los Angeles. That's where we were transferred to. We went to San Francisco. And I don't know what was discharged. We had something there in between decks for San Francisco, but we were sent to Wilmington, Los Angeles. And you know what we loaded in Wilmington, Los Angeles? Lockheed bombers. There was 15 of them put down between decks. And TNT. Now, this is no joke.
No,
this is TNT.
Yeah.
And there was 15 put on our deck. It was a big ship. But the wings could fold in that time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The wings folded in. But
yeah.
all they had to do was be connected up and they'd fly. and they were coming back to London, and TNT. That was our cargo. The first trip we made home on our own. The second trip we were sent to Jamaica, Kingston, for a convoy.
Oh, right.
After Leyden.
Yeah.
That's where we went.
Yeah.
Jamaica, Kingston, we had to wait for 10 days there in a convoy to come home with the flagship ship. The flagship was 16 an the Pacific Enterprise. Yeah. Oh, Jesus, don't talk. Oh, Jesus, I said this is some setup all that. TNT awesome, 5-gallon drums of it.
Yeah.
A flash like that. You were gone. 15 and 15 was 30 planes, all ready for flight.
Yeah.
All the, just put the wings out like that, like a fucking birds.
But Willie, when you're on those ships and carrying cargo like that, as you were on the Shell Mix, I was on the Irish Holly.
Yeah.
We carried petrol, we carried jet fuel.
That's right, yeah.
But you live with it, you didn't worry.
Oh, you live with it. It never worries you.
Never
I mean,
worries
when
you.
you're there,
It's-
it lives with you.
it's
We
an
were
everyday,
carrying
you know.
TNT, and it was all along on the deck. It was all along underneath. The planes were there on the hatch. One there, another one here, and then in between on the side decks where the wings could go out, you know what was
Yeah.
left of them, there was planes. There was 15 planes on deck and there was 15 down, and there was 30 planes, Lockheed bombers, all ready for flight. All of the wings all had to be just brought out. You see them there taking them out in London. We used to come back to London with them
London
all,
just went to,
and
yeah.
they'd take them out.
Yeah.
And they'd nearly fly off the fucking dock, only they had to be brought to they took them away to the, what do you
To
call
the
it?
fields.
The fields,
Fields,
with the
yeah,
take
they had to
off.
be transported there, yeah.
And I said to one of the lads there one day, so you had to be a whole lot done with the engine. He says, no, he said, there's no, only just the electrical end of the wires as we connect up. He said, it's only a 10 minutes job.
And the way
And
to
he
go.
said, the way to go. 10 minutes job, he said, we connected up and the way to go. Oh, that's true. Well, you never had it, you in the convoys, Austin, no?
I know. See, the war was over when I went to sea, and I had nothing to do with it, you know.
No, but
Yeah.
the last of it, the Lord of mercy and poor Bamesor.
Yeah.
Jeez, I'll never forget poor Bamesor. This chap, he was a Irishman, married to a relation of mine. Married to my own relation, this chap. Well, he went to say for years and years, but it was mostly all in old coasters, you know.
Heaton's and
coasters,
out
yeah.
of Dublin.
Out of Dublin. But it was a small little boat. I don't know, which should be 500 ton or something.
Heaton's boat,
Yeah.
Around 800, yeah.
I mean,
Around
it's
five,
5 to 700
That's
tons,
right,
it
yeah.
wouldn't be any bigger.
That was on the run, yeah.
But anyway, I was had to do a trip down to Gothenburg in the Irish Rose. I was on a maiden. Was it a maiden voyage? Yes, I think it was, Austin. A maiden voyage. See, we used to go over to. Was she built in Greyhead Yard?
No, that was a steam one you were
Oh,
on.
I was on the Irish Cedar.
Ah,
But I was on the old Irish Rose previous to that.
Yeah.
I done a trip on the old Irish
Yeah,
Rose.
well, the Cedar was built in William Gray's West
Well,
Hartley Pool.
Yeah, well, I was
That's right.
I was sent over as the bosun's mate in that one.
Yeah,
Val
yeah.
King was the bosun of it.
Right, yeah.
I was bosun's mate on. But when the new Irish Rose come out,
Yes,
she was a motor job.
she was a 9-cylinder British Polar engine.
Yeah.
Diesel, yeah.
Yeah, she was a lovely little ship.
She was.
And there was accommodation for I think 12 passengers in her. Am I right?
No, the new Rose had no one. The old one might have had.
The old one, yeah, it was
Yeah,
the
you
old
were
one.
on the
I had
new
it.
one,
I was on
yeah.
the new one though, like
Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
But she'd beautiful accommodation. Sure,
Yeah.
every fella had his own room and
Ah,
all
that's
those
right,
things.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
what I
on
say.
one,
But I
yeah.
wasn't used to that, you see.
Yeah.
Because I was on the Irish ships, the old Irish ships, and there was
Yeah.
no rooms in them.
Yeah.
You slept in. Did I hear a phone go?
Yeah, right.
But anyway, the skipper said to me, Maggie said, you're a good seaman.
I'm listening, Willie.
But I was had to be with this fella when he was mate and he was skipper, and I always done what I was told, and I never had a crossword with any of them at fucking sea because I always kept out of trouble. I didn't have no variance and I didn't drink, and therefore there was no trouble. And if a fella was stuck for a few bob and I had it, I'd give it to him because I'd always get it back, you know. And the skipper said to me, Willie, he said, do you know anyone, he says, a good seaman, he said, a good steady fella, he says, that you could depend on. But says I know a chap, I said, at home, is a relation of my own, I said, through marriage, I said. And says if he's available, I said, I don't know whether he'd go deep water or not, he's a coasting man. But says he's a good man, a genuine, I could guarantee him to you, Captain. I said, I could guarantee him. Says I, he doesn't drink. He'd drink an odd pint of a Saturday night, but after that, no. And says I, he said, see, I said, I can guarantee he won't drink. He's like myself. Well, now he said, if you can get him, bring him up here to me. Oh, Jesus, I went down to Bames, Ronnie, with the Lord of Mercy and the Cradle. And I said, James, you never was deep water. Christ, he says, no, Willie. He says, why? He says, I have a job for you, deep water. Says I, the captain asked me, I said, will you take a job on it? The Little Irish Rowers.
The Little Irish Rowers.
Yeah.
Well, I remember.
Oh, Jesus, James, Esther Mary said, is she big, Willie? What's the size? She's a lot bigger than the one. Says I, James was already on, you know, because he was only on a small
He was on the Kenneth and the...
That's all, yeah. The Mungo and the Kenneth and all them. So anyway, I got under him anyway. Jesus, Willie, he said, I'll go up in the morning, would you? We'll have a look at her. So I was to meet the skipper above at 10 o'clock in the morning, above the shipping office, you see. And I went into Captain Knight with him. I suppose he said, we got off the fucking bus and we walked round anyhow. We did the Captain Knight. And I said, Captain, I said, here's this man. I said, you probably know him, so he's on the... I said, I know him. He's one of Heaton's men.
Yeah, he'd know.
But I said, he likes a trip. I said, deep water. He never's been deep water. Well, he said, I know he's a good man. I said, I know he's a good man too. That's why I brought him up. He said, for Captain Kelly.
Yeah.
Because Captain Kelly, I said, won't have no come back on me because so you can guarantee him and I can guarantee him.
J.P. Kelly.
J.P. Kelly, yeah.
Go ahead, yeah.
Then we get into this taxi and Knight comes down. He said, the skipper was to be up here this morning. He said at 10 o'clock, but we didn't see him yet anyway. And it was only about 9:45. He says, I give him a ring and tell him we're on our way down because this man wants to see the boat because before he saw you sign. So he said, well, give him a buzz anyway. Give him a buzz down to the thing and tell them we're on our way down. So we gave a ring anyway, and the captain wasn't left. The taxi was waiting on me down the gangway. He says, so that was that. Fair enough. We got out of the taxi anyway, and Bames says, where's this fucking boat? And all as I could see was the two masts here and there, a little bridge over the quay. Bames goes over and he has a look at her. Jesus Christ, Willie, he says, that fucking boat wouldn't go across the Atlantic. I say, what boat? The Little Irish Rowers. Well, be Jesus, says I crossed the Atlantic in her, says I, if you don't, says I fucking will, says I crossed the Atlantic in smaller. I was in the fucking old Irish show saying she'd carry around with that day.
Yeah.
She carried the old Irish shows that I was on saying her, and the old Irish shows I was on was 35 years of age. They're the ones only coming out the stocks. So I'm at the trip down to Cottonburg and up, and she said a beautiful job. She was due only to 12 knots, couldn't charge them.
Steady.
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 Yeah.
She did. I know it. Yeah.
I knew because I was in her.
Yeah.
We come up in Battenberg up to the what do you call it? Through the fucking round the what do you call it, you know?
Caledonia.
No. Oh, what the name? We're at the coming out of the fucking North Sea up around the what do you call it? Land's End, and a blowing a hurricane.
Around Land's End, yeah.
It was southeast wind and a blowing a hurricane, and nothing over the water. There was no ship, just fucking timber, 12-foot thick cargo of timber, and the point of the funnel, that's all. And the two tops were mast on the fucking wireless aerial, that was all that was over the water. And you had to go up through the accommodation to go to the wheel.
Yeah.
Nowhere else you could go. She was all timber.
She was built for the timber.
She was a timber carrier. That's what she was built for.
She was built for, yeah.
And we went to the... So Bames said to me, Willie, he says, I think you're fucking kidding me. No, I'm not kidding you, James, I said. Says I, the one you come out of, says I, that one he carry around after fucking hatch, I said. Says I, the one you come out of is only 500 ton, this one is 2,000. Of course, when he got that, she said, of course, you're right there, but she was still small looking at him. And I...
Small for the Atlantic.
She was fucking small for the Atlantic, for me, never mind, yes, the white cross. Right. Jesus, Bames, I don't know whether I'll go or not, Willie. And when I went aboard, there was 4 fucking bosuns in her. There was one from Drogheda, 2 from Martla, and a fella from fucking Cork. And I was at to be with Tom from Cork in the fucking Navy. And he says, in the name of Jesus, Tom, said Tom Bourne, the fuck, he said, are you doing on a boat like this? He said, I had to be in the Navy with me. Say, I don't know the fuck what I'm doing, but she says, she's all right. I made a trip on her down to the Gothenburg and I got a grand few quid out of her. Overtime, plenty of overtime, you know. Well, Willie, he says, I don't know. He says, I don't know who's fucking posting. For there's 4 postings aboard her, he says. And you're a posting's fucking mate. And he said, if I get the job, he says, you'll be still posting mate with me.
Right, yeah.
Because I would post mate with Tom.
Yeah.
Jesus, anyway, we signed on. And didn't Tom fucking Bourne get the hot man got the post, and he was the longest in Irish shipping, you see. Yeah. The 2 Hartler fellas got a kick in the fucking arse, and your man and Drada, he got a kick in the Clockerhead. I thought I was had to be with your man Clockerhead in the, what do you call the boats, in the Pacific boats, you see. No, it was a Tom Talent. One of the talents. One of the talents, young talent.
He was on the Holly.
Yeah, he was on the Irish ships, you see. I knew him real well. I knew his father, and knew all the Clockerhead men. But anyway, Jesus is bad. God, he said, I'll go. The skipper said, come on, then we're going to sign on now. So we signed on. I was off. We were paid up, you see, when we come to Dublin. I got down and signed on. Anyway, Baby says to me, Jesus, Willie, he says, she's very small, and she's this, and she's that, and the other. So I come on to show you the accommodation here. And every fella had his own room, grand little room, a little wash-hand basin, a little heater, and everything. Jesus says, well, you was fucking sleeping. You had to get down a ladder, and there was nothing only cold dust coming down and carry all the way. And the accommodation wasn't short. The accommodation was like a hotel. I knew it.
And the Rose now.
And the Rose, there was the new Rose.
Yeah.
Jesus, there was 16 of us in the forecastle of the fucking old Irish Rose.
And you were fed on it.
Best everything, of food. The best of grub.
Cooks, stewards, the whole lot.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Also was on her. He was engineering on her.
Yeah, I was.
Oh, Jesus, she was a beauty. I'd have loved to stop down her arse.
Yeah.
But anyway, we come home. I don't know what happened. Well, we made a trip to New York, and I brought James up. And Jesus, James, we went to New York, and I brought him up. And I went up to Terrytown, that'd be Georgetown and so on. And there was Val Dowdle, you knew Val. Willie Dowdle, I went up to Willie Dowdle's house and his sons and his daughters and all. And of course we were Russian. I knew Willie Dowdle, you see, and I knew Val Dowdle. And what do you call it, get me stuff to bring out to Willie, because I was had to be out in the other ships. She was a dressmaker. Remember, what's her name? Anna Dowdle. She was making clothes for one of the girls that was going to make her communion. And Anna was great for that. And Willie asked me if I'd anything to bring out, would I bring it out? And I said, certainly I'd bring it out. And I brought out stuff for the young one, she'd making a communion. You know, out to Willie. Yeah. Jesus, don't talk. Bamser was delighted with him. Oh, Christ, he was... You know, Bamser wasn't a bit backward at that.
No, I didn't, yeah.
He was real easy going, but he wasn't a bit backward.
Yeah.
But Jesus, you know, Willie, he said, that was the greatest trip I ever had in my life. Jesus, he said, I'd love to go back again. But I don't know what happened that time. The Irish always, I can't remember what happened that I didn't go back on her. I'd love to have won back on her again, but I didn't. And Bamser said, Willie, if you're not going, I'm not going. Because Bamser was funny. You see, he wanted to be with someone he knew.
Yeah.
He was at the being with Jack Welton. He was at the being with Jack Welton for 7 or 8 years. He was at the being with Pat Fagan for 7 or 8 years. And P.D. Harford.
Yeah,
and he was 7 or 8 years with these one men.
Yeah.
And of course he knew me.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't come with a stranger.
Yeah, he liked the company of somebody.
He wanted someone from his own that knew. Yeah. I know he wasn't a bit afraid of, and he was a great footballer. He was a good footballer on his day.
Yeah.
But Christ, Bamser, he was like a child.
Yeah.
But he didn't know nothing about deep water.
No.
And he was no good at fucking steering. You see, a coaster's different. A coaster, you're at that old wheel and it's just jump from one fucking place to the other, you know.
Yeah.
But when you go to the fucking wheel in these ships, you have to keep her on a course. You want a straight line. You only get so many seconds. The fucking bell rings.
Yeah.
You're steering and she goes off course. Tick, 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 the fucking bells are the ring. Port or starboard.
Willie, what Bamser was on was probably the old chain steering.
The old chain steering, yes.
The rolls and the like of those were hydraulic.
You could steer them with like a car.
With your finger, same as a car.
And then you steered on the gyro compass. And James Bamser couldn't understand the gyro. 360 degrees there in front of you. But he was used to north, south, east and fucking west. And he couldn't understand that. You see, he was steering on gyro.
He'd only 4 points.
There was only 4 fucking points, you see.
Yeah.
But the gyro booked him. He couldn't understand that at all. And I tried to explain and show him how to what went up on him, you see.
Yeah.
And I said to the mates, like, this chap is not used to it. He said, he's doing get used to it. After a couple of hours, he said, and so you know the way in a small boat, I say she's all the time jumping around.
That's
He
right,
said he
you're
may not be
compensating all
dead
the
steady
time.
on the course. You know, I was that used to every ship. I had 10 minutes at a ship's wheel. I'd know exactly how much wheel to give her,
Yeah.
when to give it to her, and when to take it off her.
And you know a good helmsman from a bad one. You look out the stern.
I look over the stern.
And
the way.
if
You see
she
her
wasn't
straight like a wake.
or if she was crooked, just say
You
that fella's
zigzag.
wasting fuel.
Yeah, by
Yeah.
you would be wasting
You're wasting
fuel.
fuel, yeah. You'd be zigzagging,
Yeah.
yeah.
He used to say to me, he says, you know, there was a quartermaster at the fucking wheel.
Yeah.
The chief
Yeah.
would say to me, says, you know, when you were at the wheel, Willie, there's no
Yeah.
crooked, there's no crooked
Now
there.
there's no one at the wheel, Willie.
Nobody at the wheel at all,
No.
just put her on the kick and slap, as the fella
and
says.
away she goes.
Jeez.
No, I was on the B&I lately there, and
Yeah.
no wireless operator.
Oh,
on.
not at all, no
And
way,
you
sure.
have your little screen,
Yeah.
and it shows you Holyhead, and it shows you
Everything
Dublin.
shows you the line,
And you're
and you're
straight
going
round
right across
through.
in between them.
It's like
Yeah.
following a picture.
Oh, it's just the same
No,
thing.
nothing
no,
now,
bother.
now.
No bother
Yeah,
now.
it's all on the old
Satellite.
satellite
Oh, it's
now,
all
yeah.
now on that satellite, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even the smaller boats, there's boats that'll be moored out there that will be satellite
Oh,
connected
yeah.
that they can find their position.
They can
That's
find
right,
That's
it.
what
find the
Yeah.
position.
And who
Yeah.
would have thought in your day that this facility would have been available to even small boats?
Sure, even we going across the Atlantic and you get bad weather, you get either fog, which you could get for 3 or 4
Oh,
days,
Christ, yeah.
or you could get snowstorm,
Yeah, you
and
would.
you mightn't see a star for
wouldn't-
3 or
couldn't
4
get a
days.
sight, you couldn't
You
get a
couldn't
sight
get a
for
sight.
days. You couldn't get a sight. Bring out your
And
sights and you couldn't
You
get a
couldn't
sight
get
for
your
days.
sight, and eventually then you're actually walking on the old log
The old log.
that was streaming
Your
behind
stream
the
log.
ship.
Dependent
Yeah.
on-
And some of
And-
them you had to go out to look at it, others would register on the bridge.
Bridge.
You know.
But
And be sent
maybe
to
then,
blow the whistle for you to go out
maybe
and bring up
then,
the-
Willie,
on the-
you get a big lump of seaweed on it,
Seaweed at the
and
haul
knock
her
her
in.
out. So
Have to haul her
it
in
wasn't
and clear
it
her.
wasn't good.
Accurate.
No, it wouldn't be accurate
So
at all.
then next is you get maybe a star at night. They
That's
clear
right.
off, or you get a bit of sun,
Yeah.
and the mates will be out shooting,
That's right.
and they'd say, we're 200 miles
Yeah.
further
Yeah.
than what we thought,
And we thought
and
we were.
everyone was delighted.
Yeah, oh
then,
yeah,
you
because
know.
you're further and
Yeah,
further
oh
on.
yeah, yeah.
Lot
But
further
you're
on.
going across, especially the banks in Newfoundland,
Oh, jeez, yeah,
and
that's
you
it.
get fog there, Willie. You're depending on the
Well,
radar,
Because the radar's the most
You're
important
blind.
thing, and then because there's
Um,
not any heavy traffic, you
and
see.
there's some traffic there because the traffic all comes up the
You
American
have all the
coast,
fishing boats
you
that
know.
contend with us out on the banks and you
It's
found
like-
out apart from the
like
traffic
O'Connell
coming out.
Street.
The same.
And you
The
can
same.
run over some of them trawlers and you wouldn't know
Jeez,
it.
you wouldn't even know
No,
it.
no.
It wouldn't sound a fucking horn
No,
or a whistle or
no.
nothing.
Have you ever
know.
seen anything out in the Atlantic crossing there that an unusual sight to see in such a vast expanse of water? Small, very
no,
small boats.
I know. I
Never
saw a few yachts all right in different times and sailing things, but they weren't in any trouble now because if there was no trouble, the skipper would say we'll go for you, haul her up close to a
Give a
couple of
look,
points and
yeah.
give a look to see that
Yeah.
they're not looking for, in case they wouldn't have a wireless or that
Yes.
looking for help or
Help.
anything like
Yeah.
that.
And
And go up and
then-
you give them a shout on the what they
Yeah.
might call and find
Yeah.
out the one they had
And
to say
then
no,
you
we're
go
all right.
across and you wouldn't see a ship for the whole
Oh, you
trip.
would see a ship maybe for the whole trip.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
Christ, yes,
for
nice
that
one.
again, next time you'd be going across and the Queen Mary had passed
It'd
and
be fast and
be
fine,
loads
but-
of them, you know.
yeah.
But that was the look of the game.
Well,
What
I
was
was
your
on the-
first impression? I'd like to know when you went on the Queen Elizabeth, which is the first boat you went on.
Well, now,
What was your very first impression of a boat of its size?
Well, now,
And there's a little guy from Rush, who's the biggest thing so far was the trawler. And then he went on the Navy, but then you went into the... So give us your impressions, your first
No, you
impressions.
see, the neighbour boat we went on, she was only 120 feet long. That's all she was on.
Right, yeah.
And I was done a year and a half on that one. And then we were transferred to another one. And we done a trip to Germany. And we done a trip to Antwerp. Oh, jeez, no, she
So,
wouldn't
right,
get involved. I don't have that.
you leave the 2,500 ton naval vessel,
Yeah.
and you go on to the Queen Mary, which was what, around,
jeez,
was
the
she
Queen-
70, I'm not too sure, I
Well,
think
that-
or 70 or 80,000 ton.
She was 72,000
Something
ton
like
ours.
that,
I think
yeah.
that's what our tonnage was.
Yeah.
But when you went aboard the Queen Mary, where you were brought, you never went any further because you didn't know your way
You
around.
get lost on them. You
See,
know?
I was all right. I was a quartermaster and I was up on the top deck.
You were near the bridge.
I was
really.
near the fucking bridge.
Bridge
Were
or
you
And I was-
impressed with the size of it when you first saw it?
Oh, for Christ's sake. Well, I often saw her coming in and going out.
Yeah,
But I never thought I'd be on her.
honour,
But
yeah.
when I got on her, you'd be afraid to walk through because when you go into accommodation, you never know how you're going to get out.
Get out of it,
When
yeah.
you look up that alleyway, it was the same as Jesus, Mary and George, you couldn't see the outlet at the far end.
Yeah.
You
Can you
know,
remember the length of it? Any idea how small?
I forget the length of them. I know there's some size.
Nothing on the creek and the berries and them.
I forget the length of them,
no,
and tell you the
haven't
truth.
any
But
on
boy,
those,
jeez, there's
no.
some size, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, it's the second trip I met in the Mary.
Pardon?
Something close to 2,000 feet or something.
Oh, it was the wood aim, and I forget now that it's a long time ago.
Tonnage,
I was on that many
but
ships, different ships after, like you know the way it is.
Yeah.
But what am I going to say to you? When the way it was there, you were brought in, and you got there was your accommodation. You see. Now my job was special lookout, quartermaster, a gunner. Well, I was only serving me time I had me time served for the gunner, but that was you were showed where the guns were going to be placed when they were needed.
Yes, yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
There was a war coming up, but we didn't know there was a war.
But they knew.
But they knew. And this will
on.
be this is where the action will be with the gun. Your 4.5, and then when you went to the bridge, you were shown where your anti-aircraft was up here in the bridge.
Yeah.
See, but that's all I knew. Apart from going down and getting your food and going up on your accommodation, I couldn't go through her because we weren't allowed.
The Queen Mary had always an escort.
Oh yes,
when she came near the coast.
That's right. Yeah.
And she was travelling, coming up on the Irish coast.
Yeah.
And her escort went across the bow of the Queen Mary.
Yeah.
And she sliced her in two.
Two.
And no one on board knew that.
No.
So it just shows you how vast and big a ship she was, and the terrific speed she had.
He was doing a zigzag manoeuvre.
He was doing a zigzag manoeuvre,
that's correct.
and he just kept going.
And the sequence was that you would change it every so often. So if anybody
every so many minutes,
that's right.
Every 2.5 minutes, you zigzag.
Zigzag.
That's right.
Zigzag.
Yeah.
Sure. I was on
and
the zigzag.
The lack of communication between its escort.
Between the escort.
Yeah. And especially where she was coming up close to, we say, Ireland. And it was a bad place. It was really the U-boats were hanging around there.
Oh yeah.
Marvelous
Which,
ship
when I was on the Pacific boats coming home that time, there was a submarine with us, and there was a destroyer, and there was 52 boats left in the convoy, and there was only 37 boats come home. The rest of them were fucking sunk every morning around 4 to 5 o'clock.
Good God,
I was on the 4-8 watch, and it was a bastard.
That must have
only
been
torpedoed.
very.
And we had a Red Cross ship with us, and they picked up a good lot of survivors, but still not enough to take the crews that was on them, because there was over 46 and 48 of a crew in all those ships.
They were tough days, really,
Jesus,
those convoys.
And
especially the convoys to Russia.
Oh, yeah.
Where they might start
that
off
was
with
bad.
35 ships from, they'd start maybe around Halifax.
That's right.
And they come across the North Atlantic.
North Atlantic,
and on the high route. And they might finish up with 11.
10 or 11.
Which some of them did. I think it was PQ 17 or some one famous convoy.
That's right.
And 2 more Manx in Russia. They were cleaned out of it, you know.
Ah, cleaned out of it,
yeah. They were tough, you know.
Oh, boy,
and when you got torpedoed, you only had about, 4 minutes or something in the sea. You were gone then, you know.
Oh, geez,
4 minutes, and you were gone.
Sure, there was
really,
something,
you know.
no time they were gone in a couple of minutes. I seen us on that Reliance I was on, she was a 16.5 knot ship. And we zigzagged every 2.5 minutes we ought, of course, it was the flagship. We were leading the convoy. And we had a fucking sub in between us. We had a sub between the Reliance and the next 6 boats that was in the convoy. They were 15 knot ships. Now there's behind us.
Yeah.
Then we had the slow ones were away astern, and there was a destroyer in the middle of them. Now we steamed at an average of 16 knots for so many hours. A zigzag every 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And they slowed them down to 12 knots then.
Yes.
And they worked on 12 knots maybe for 24 hours to bring the other lads up
to you,
for to keep the convoy as near as possible. You couldn't stop altogether because you were fucking targeted.
You couldn't stop.
And all the boats, every boat had a zigzag in different times.
Yeah.
See, that's what caused a fucking awful lot of accidents.
Oh yes.
That big ships travelling cause accidents.
And so close.
And so close. See, there's no distance between them.
Had they running lights, Willie, or had they running lights or little small?
Oh no, little wee small things you couldn't see.
Hardly on the stern.
You could
That's
hardly
what it
see
was,
them.
yeah.
They
This
were
was
only
the
a
thing.
glimmer.
So that's all you
But
you
that's
had,
all.
yeah.
Sure, even at the wheel, never a light in the wheelhouse, only a little wee light at the, down at the compass, that's all.
Yeah.
And you could just make out the what do you call it?
bearing, yeah.
But you had your bell if
Yeah.
you were going off course,
Right, yeah.
port or starboard, green,
Yeah.
green and red would come up, you know.
Yeah.
And just the fucking bell at ring if you were just going off course.
Yeah.
But, well, they didn't mind you going off course because you had all the so often. The bell rung for the alteration, and you knew your course.
I
you see.
think the worst part, Willie, of the war and the convoys was the treatment of the merchant navy seamen,
Yeah.
who were treated as dirt,
Oh, they were, definitely.
and they were
Definitely.
beaten up and spat at and all like that.
Definitely, I'll agree
They
with
weren't
Johnson.
they weren't regarded as
Not at all.
fighting as army or navy
Not at all.
or
But
Air
they,
Force,
but
you
they
know.
were doing all
And
the
yet,
fucking war.
those men, there was lost. They fought in the
They
war,
fought in the war.
bringing in
Definitely.
your supplies,
They were.
and they never even got a medal. And I think only last year was the first year they were allowed to walk in the parade
That's correct.
in London.
That's
You know,
correct.
the,
Yeah, you're right.
Memorial.
Memorial
The
Day.
Memorial Parade,
But-
that's
and
all.
if you were standing at a bus stop and you wouldn't have uniform,
No,
but
no.
you'd have the army lad there and they'd say, you
Yeah.
get down the end of the queue,
You down then the
or they
queue.
might
Yeah.
spit at you.
Oh, yeah.
They were very badly treated. And even there's our Irish seamen, they were badly treated
Oh,
by
jeez,
our
they
own country.
Yeah.
And it has only the last 5 years
Yeah.
that those men got medals.
Oh, Jesus,
Right.
I gave it to a couple of the boys in fucking Dublin.
That's true.
I said, where the fuck was you during the war? Sucking your mother's fucking titty or hanging out of her fucking apron, I said. Or hiding between your father's fucking legs, I said.
Yeah.
My own
You
father
wanted
was
to
the
fucking
first
say,
mate
I
on the
crossed
ship.
the fucking
That's not
Atlantic.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my grandfather, and
7
he
years.
was torpedoed in 1917. And only copied his birth certificate there the other week.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
And 1917, he was torpedoed by a seaplane. And
Aye.
of course, he was on the wrong half that went down. But my biggest regret is that with a lovely oil painting of the ship, it was called the Storm.
Yeah.
Very typical of the boats of his time. Very straight,
Yeah, I know.
Yes, they weren't
dead
as...
straight here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it had its walkway, it had a low cabin but walkway on top,
I
and
know.
another bridge at the back, or some other.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
most basic
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Well,
unprotected.
A lot of the crew, the crew lived in the stern.
Oh,
All right,
yeah.
Willie?
Yeah, it's a
And
did, Austin.
midship was for the officers.
Well, you
Yeah,
see,
yeah.
Yeah.
midships was the opposite. The crew
Yeah.
lived there.
Yeah.
And then if you got into the warm weather, you had to live on the awnings aft.
Yeah.
You know, put up the
Out on the
awnings.
deck and under it. Yeah.
Because when you got in the warm
Yeah.
weather, you couldn't live down below because it was too hot.
The
You had to live under the
And
awnings.
in winter
Oh,
time.
gee, we used to be down in South America. We had to live
No.
on the awnings, and even put the mosquito
Mosquito
fucking
net.
curtains round you.
Yeah.
Jeez, you'd be eating
Yeah.
fucking bits.
Oh, yeah.
I used to get it, my fucking chest and me down here. The bastards that ate you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, don't
Oh,
know.
What was
Jesus.
it like for somebody like to be down below all the time for you, Austin? And,
Well, I like this
and
man
how does
here.
that guy? I mean, you know, with the heating of a ship and in confined
Really,
conditions.
the only thing that
I mean, do you have to have a stomach like the gearbox before angler or what?
No. First of all, and I've often said it, you won't go to sea unless it's in you.
oh no,
You have to have
it.
have
You
to
must
have it, you know.
You must
If you haven't got it and you think
you
you'd
make
like
a trip
to do
and
a
you
trip,
get fucking sick, you'll
you'll
fucking
do
fail
what's
out.
known as 11 trips. You'll
That's
do
all right.
one trip
One
out
back,
and
one
you'll
out,
one
one
trip
back.
back.
That's all
Now,
you
as
do.
a garden, no, it's just like an ordinary day's walk.
Just the
And
same.
you eat and you sleep,
Yeah.
and it's just in you.
It's in you.
In the engine room, it was interesting work. And one thing
Well,
about
always
it, you
had
were
something
never
to do.
idle.
You're never idle.
Never
Austin.
idle. And time, you never finish work. There was always work. And regarding the heat, number one, the top of the engine rooms would be very, very warm.
Oh yeah.
But down
down
on
below,
the deck where
Down
we
on
were
the-
working,
right down on the
you
end,
had the
right down beside
fans.
the end, you had the big fans.
Fans,
were turning,
yeah.
but up there the heat was going
The
up.
heat
you
was
see.
going up,
The
yeah.
higher you were up, the worse you go in at the engine room
Yeah.
door.
Yeah, and the heat
to,
had hit
to
you,
ask
yeah.
them for put the
Yeah.
hoe or put the pumps going
Pumps
for you
on, yeah.
for the hose.
Yeah, and
Jeez, you
catch
wouldn't
your
stand the
breath.
heat.
Yeah.
But when if you went down the
Down
steps
she got
the
she
side, it was
cool,
grand and
yeah.
cool as you went down.
Another thing you're often asked, how did you stick the Nias?
Yeah.
Now, there was no
You don't
Nias
hear it.
because it became music to you. You know, it got a beat.
Yeah.
But when that heartbeat changed, you were on the ball.
Yeah.
There was
You knew
something
there was
wrong.
some little thing wrong.
Your pressures were going back.
Yeah.
There was something wrong, and you were on the ball. So the noise didn't bother you.
Not at
And
all.
then, depending on what type of ship you were on,
That's
if it
true.
was a turbine, she had
Yeah.
a beautiful whine.
Yes.
Oh,
If
God,
she was
yeah.
the old up and downer, you had the clatter and bang.
Yes, yeah, the thump,
And
yeah.
if it was a motor job, the motor jobs I was on, they were fairly quiet.
Yeah, quiet.
But
yeah.
I done a trip lately there. I was on the maiden voyage of the new, I call it the B&I, which
Ah,
is
yeah,
actually
well,
Continental Line.
Continental, yeah.
And I was brought down to the engine room, but you had 4 diesel engines there. No way could you go in without earmuffs.
Oh no, you'd have to have that.
Yeah.
To be so
Yeah.
heavy.
But things have changed on ships now.
Oh,
There's no
God.
one down at the engine.
Not
They
down.
have an air-cooled office,
Yeah.
and it's all computerized.
All computerized. That's the
So
office, do all
instead
that.
of where you had to put your hand in and feel the old engine, it all comes up now on out of the computer. So it's a different ball game. You know?
Jeez, when I joined the Manchester Regiment, I'll never forget. I went down. I was with this chief engineer in the Manchester producer, you see, and the Manchester Regiment. Geez, it was a lovely boat.
Yeah, they were fine ships.
Oh,
They
yeah,
were
they were
specially built for the
specially built for
Atlantic.
the Atlantic, you see.
You know,
And I
it
done
had to
3
be,
trips
yeah,
in the producer, and I joined the
Yeah.
regiment.
Yeah.
And the chief engineer said to me one night, "Come on down, Willie, I'll show you this engine room." Geez, he said, this was a later one. She was later than the producer, you see.
Right, yeah.
He says, "Come on down," he says, "have a look at this engine room." Now, there was all sorts of generators going there for the lights and that.
Oh,
I was
yeah,
watchman, you see.
Yeah.
But you show me. Now, she was a coal burner. This was a coal burner at the time, Austin.
Yeah,
she
never,
wasn't.
never
She was.
sailing a cold burner,
She was.
yeah.
They were all coal burners to
Burners,
Manchester,
yeah.
and there was 16 or 18 niggers in her and a couple of trimmers. Oh yeah, all black men, West Africans, you know.
Yeah.
And I just remember what the fucking owl, the time that I was in the coal burner, the first of my days, me gang them. He said to me, "Wait till he says you see the engineer in a few minutes coming in with the big swab, and he washed it, and he doing the big things walking up and down like this." And of course, I didn't know what there was in fucking time. The engine, the big pistons, going up and down like this.
Going, yeah.
And McGann says, "Watch now, you see him in a few minutes. He be oiling them."
Yeah.
And he come along with a fucking big swab and a bucket, and here he's rubbing the stuff on and taking it up and fucking down.
Every hour they had to be oiled.
Jesus, I said,
Really?
how
Oh,
do you...
yeah. On
She's
the
like,
hour.
she's like, how would it be if you missed one of them? Be Jesus, come down and cut the fucking head off you.
Yeah.
But your man, the chief engineer, when aboard this one, the chief says no more of that. I said to the chief, "Say, do you have to do it?" "Not at all," he says. "There's an artificial spray," he says, "put here now." He says, "Put that on this."
Oh, yeah.
He said there was a time you had to do it.
Do it,
And I was telling him about this old coaster I was on, and you had to come out and fucking do it. And Jesus, he says, "You wouldn't want to have to do it on this one. You just got the fucking Western Ocean, you'd end up in the middle of the fucking engine with a trunk, you give a plunge.
And they had all the
Had
mechanical
all the
lubricators and all
lubricators
like
and all
that.
at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah, they improved all the time.
But she
Willie,
could do 15 knots.
That was good
Steamboat.
speed on the
Oh,
on the
Jesus.
Atlantic, yeah.
You in Canada.
Yeah.
We used to go to Quebec, Canada.
Yeah. Up to St. Lawrence.
St. Lawrence River,
Pick
yeah.
up your pilot at Father Point.
Father Point, yeah.
And then he brought you right up.
Oh, he brought you right up.
But when I was
But
on her
you'd
there,
have to fucking wait though. We were off and there was skipper
yeah.
would be waiting on a silver walking stick. if
oh,
you
that
could
was
get
when
it.
the ice came.
When the ice came.
The
And
St.
the
Lawrence
St.
River
Lawrence River's frozen up, you see.
froze up around
You'd have
the
to be
end
there.
of December, and you had to get out.
It'd be April,
Or
the
you could
1st of
close
April
in.
before you
Yeah.
get it. Oh, you had to be
And
out.
she crushed the ship because all the
Oh,
ships at
Jesus
that time
Christ,
were
yes.
riveted.
Oh, they were all
And if you
riveted.
did, she was no good after that.
No, not
you
at
know.
all. No, she shake her bits.
Now another thing they done, Willie, you know, many boys would you have from Father Point up, maybe 1,000 boys, you know.
Boys! Jesus
You know,
Christ, you'd be sick
you're
of
a
them.
day and a half going up the
It
river.
takes a day and a
more.
half to go up the river itself and at the wheel
Oh,
there
it's
for
beautiful
4
though,
hours.
But
Or
when
6 hours maybe you get
winter
a statue.
comes and you got to get out, the boys are taken up for two
That's
reasons.
right, for taking up 2
Number one is for overhaul.
That's right,
and
general
number
overhaul.
two,
That would
the
be-
gas cylinders are to be crushed.
That's right, all had to be
So what they do is
They push the gas in,
let
those
go
the
the
pressure of the
chain.
steam.
Where would they have the gas on the
Oh,
board?
the
Oh, no, they
bottom
had
of
them at the
it,
bottom
what's
of the
floating, the float in the water,
The float.
is
Oh,
a
yeah.
gas cylinder.
Oh, is
gas
it?
cylinder.
Oh yeah,
in the
you
bottom
have
of
them.
the
That's
boy,
your
yeah.
boys. That's
Oh,
how they.
yeah.
Yeah, they're a gas cylinder.
They're all gas.
But
And
it's pressurised with gas.
yes,
Yeah?
yeah.
Oh, God,
And,
aye.
and,
Really?
this is what gives you the little light, you know.
Yeah.
She did last months.
That's right, last
And what
month.
they do is they take them up to be crushed,
Oh,
also
to be
to be
bursted with that.
painted and
They'd
overall.
be painted and
And
overhauled
what
the
they
dockyard.
do is the chain is still there, but they tie
Yeah,
a
they
sapling onto it, a little tree.
Oh yeah.
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 That's
Now,
right.
so that when the river freezes,
Oh, yeah, the reason
the
for-
cars and trucks go over it then.
You
It
can
becomes
drive across it.
Oh, no bother.
That's that depth of
Oh,
ice.
it's all fresh water.
All fresh
Yeah.
water.
Oh,
but
yeah. Oh,
There'd be
yeah.
a foot of ice on
And then
it. Easy.
next is the thaw comes about March. Would it be
The end of March.
End of March.
April. We used to, the first day of April.
April?
Try to
And
get up it.
there'd be a race then with the ships.
With the ships.
First
the first
ship,
ship anchored
in-
in there. It'd be up to the closest point
Right.
for that when it was ready. The skipper.
and the
first
skipper got
up
a
it.
silver.
See, he'd have
walking
our,
stick.
he'd have
Yeah.
the
Oh, yeah.
engines all ready
Yeah.
for. All you do
Yeah.
is give them a reading
Yeah.
the way you want,
And-
and the fastest ship up,
Yeah.
then it.
And then a lot of
That's
the
what I'm saying.
Norwegian or
The
Baltic
Norwegians,
ships,
yeah, the Baltic
they
ships.
had the bow cut.
That's right.
and
Cut.
for
And
like
they
an
were,
icebreaker. and
they were icebreakers
they'd
themselves.
sit up, they'd wobble
Yeah.
like a duck, and
Yeah.
they'd break the ice.
They'd break the ice as they went
Yeah.
along.
Ah,
Dip
yeah.
their noses.
Yeah, that was
that's the way
yeah,
they were trimmed.
Yeah,
They were trimmed for
but
that.
now when I was out there, I was about 8 months on the river, Willie.
Yeah, I know. You
We
were
went
good
out
there.
on the rows actually, and we went on a charter to, I think it was some company out of Seven Islands,
Yeah,
and the charter was from Montreal to Newfoundland,
yeah.
a place called Cornerbrook.
Corner brute.
Now-
Yes, I was in it.
Newfoundland is an island,
Yeah, oh yeah.
and everything has to be brought into it for the winter.
Yeah.
You brought in everything, I mean,
Yeah.
now. We even brought in silver dollars,
Yeah, oh yeah.
snowmobiles,
Yeah.
mattresses,
Yeah, everything.
beds,
Yeah.
you
there was
name
nothing
it.
to be got on it. Only what
That
we
was
brought
all
into it,
brought
you
in.
know.
So every week, this weekend, we'd be in Montreal loading,
Yeah.
and the following weekend,
You'd be
we'd
at
be
the
in
island.
Cornerbrook.
Corner brute. Yeah.
And the Irish Willow was out, and she'd be the reverse. We'd
The
meet
first sheep,
halfway.
Halfway, yeah.
Yeah. And Cornerbrook, there wasn't much in it.
No.
There was a big pulp mills.
Yeah.
So what we done when we were out there, we bought a little scow,
Yeah.
a little, and there was a great big bay there,
Yeah.
and we'd go out for the cod.
Oh, jeez,
Ah,
that's where
man,
you
dear,
get the
the
cod. That's
cod.
where you get the
You
beauties.
put your arm that far
Yeah.
down into them to get the hook out.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful thing.
Cods, oh, jeez,
But
plenty
anyway,
of
this
food
little
there.
boat we bought, the little dory, a dory,
Yeah, little dory.
little dory, little
Yes.
engine in it.
Used to carry beaches, about 16 of them aboard the ships.
And we called her the Irish Stew.
You fair enough,
And
lovely job.
she was $200 we paid for her, Willie.
Yeah. She's got it for
I
nothing.
got her for nothing. And she had
I
a
used
little
to love-
engine in her. They had a special little engine out there. And what you done was, you got a hold of the flywheel. Now, we used to get the battery out of the Aldous lamp. You know, your emergency lamp for
yeah,
the signal.
I know, the signal one.
And you'd bring that down and we connected up. She wouldn't use much.
That's
And you
all.
got a hold of the flywheel and you gave her a spin.
Yeah, just give her a twist.
Now, if she went the wrong way, you were in reverse.
Oh, yeah, you were in
You
reverse.
were the wrong way. So
If she
you
went
stop
the right
her.
way, we're all right.
And then you give her another clout and you would get her the right way.
Get the right way.
And we go out fishing anyway, and this is how we spent
Ah, yeah.
our summer out
I
there.
know, actually it'd be
And
lovely.
you get squid, but the
Yeah.
cod was lovely, you
Oh,
know.
the cod, plenty of cod.
Anyway, Willie, when we were finishing up then, I wanted to bring her home, but we were
Oh, I
coming,
love one of them.
coming back to England. However, we sold her for $100.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't do too bad, you
Come
know.
on,
We
right.
got a good year there,
Oh,
over,
geez,
you know.
I'd love one of them. I always
Yeah.
loved them dories. They
Yeah,
were beauties.
They were lovely, yeah. We brought her actually with us on board the ship, Willie. We were going down to a place called Coffin Island
I
in
often
the
heard
St.
tell
Lawrence. And
Yeah.
you know who we were going to load? We had little tanks in it, of course. We were going to load seal oil
Oh, seal
from
oil.
Montreal, yeah. And
Christ.
this place was called Coffin Island.
Yeah.
And we were never in there before. There was no charts.
No.
So we loaded up our little boat,
Yeah.
and they made a little chart of the river into the harbour.
I see.
And I
Yeah.
think we owned the boat, the little one.
I
And I
know.
think we got a few bob out of our agents,
Ah,
you know,
probably, yeah.
for it, you know.
Yeah, I know.
And we loaded the seal oil anyway,
Yeah.
you know. And it was a grand little island.
Yeah.
And there was
I haven't heard. I've been talking
yeah.
about it.
And there was a fish factory on it. And all the lads would be up looking at the wind at the women, and next they had to take the women away.
Well,
There
now,
was no work done, you
We
know.
were talking about there was a
Yeah.
little factory on it.
Yeah.
I was in a place there and we were loading timber now, Austin. I can't vouch for the name of it. But do you know what they were catching in it? Every fella had a wheel
Oh,
up along it.
Wasn't a place called Picton by any
Now
chance?
I can't remember the
We
name.
loaded
But will I
timber
tell you
there,
about
yeah.
it? Will I tell you about it? Every fella that had a weir, I was talking to one chap and he was a sailor, but he packed up to sea. He had an accident aboard the boat and he got a few quid out of it and he bought this boat. And this boat had to look at her, she was all under a grating, and underneath the grating was an aluminium bottom.
Right, yeah.
Now she had a little engine right in the starboard, not an outboard engine,
You know,
but a little engine now here in the
inboard,
starboard.
yeah.
I forget the name, but it was only a small little thing. You'd nearly
Probably
carry
the
it in
little,
your arms.
the
Little engine.
yeah.
And he went out, and you know when you catch fresh mackerel, now this was out of the weir, and the shawl comes off it. Now they come in on top of this, and there's water squirting across them all the time. Now out of a little pump that's going to
Right.
fresh water or salt water, whatever.
Yeah.
The shawl has got washed off it, and they don't want the mackerel at all.
Right.
They only want the shawl of the mackerel. The shawl of the mackerel goes down in
To a
through the grating, we call it,
yeah.
and they have a little wee small thing. You ever seen a child with a little scoop thing for a fishing thing?
Yeah. Ah, yes, yeah, the little net.
They swish it through the water,
Yeah.
and they get that shawl and they
Yeah.
put it in. They have little basins for it.
Yeah.
And do you know what they make out of it?
I haven't a clue, no.
Mother of pearl.
Good job. Oh, no.
Artificial mother of pearl they make out of the shawl of the mackerel. Sure, probably we were up in the factory where all the girls are working. That's what I
Yeah.
can't remember the name, but
Yeah.
they'd 9 or 10 boats there fishing for these, and each fella it was a good prize for it. Now you only have a little bowl of it, Alice.
Yeah.